Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
You're watching Conversations with Jennylyn, and today my guest is a beautiful woman, and she is beautiful inside and out. So I had to include her in this series because she's also extremely intelligent and has a lot to share with us. Her name is Gillian Wal, and she is the group CEO of the IBB Global organization. Gillian, welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn.
Thank you. Great to be here, Jenny.
I am so excited to share you with everyone, and I thought I'd ask you to share a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, well, basically I run a consultancy firm called IBB Global that I founded in 1998 as part of a single dream. It's the economic engine behind my desire to change the world. And what that means basically is one paradigm at a time, one home, relationship, organization, community, nation. Over the past almost 22 years now of running IBB, I've seen some amazing things, people, organizational change, global issues, but nothing like this pandemic. Absolutely nothing like this pandemic. And I'm thankful for the learning, the teachings that I've been exposed to that have helped me and all of the consultants across our network evolve and pivot during this time. It's been challenging. We focus on organizational change, strategic planning, leadership, service quality, you name it. We have two major international partnerships, Leadership Management International and the Service Quality Institute, and I'm a licensed distributor and facilitator for both organizations. I'm also a member of Leadership Management International's Global Leadership Council. I work closely with the executive of both organizations, and throughout the pandemic have been providing support for members across our network and clients. It's a little bit about me. I'm also very active within civil society. I'm the founder and former chair of the Powerful Ladies of Trinidad and Tobago, known as PLOT. And that's an organization, a membership organization that focuses on providing support to female leaders across industry and across the TNT diaspora. I've founded the organization. I'm no longer actively involved at the executive level because it was a model set up to continue on its own. However, I remain a member of the organization. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm a proud mother of an awesome daughter.
Wow, very impressive. I love highlighting successful women. I think women need to lift women up more often than they do. And so I am very happy to hear you're making such a huge difference globally and in your local territory. What do you call yourself a resident of right now? I know you're from Trinidad, but you also live in the US.
Yes, I live in New Jersey. However, for the duration of the pandemic, I've been based in Trinidad and Tobago. So I migrated a few years ago, and I'm married. My husband and I live in New Jersey.
Okay, so are you going to be coming back to the US soon?
I'm really looking forward to the opening of the borders and for my return. However, as this space that I'm in, because TNT has done a really good job at managing the pandemic, I'm also an asthmatic. So technically, where there's less instances of the coronavirus, less cases, is actually safer for me, but I am seriously missing my husband. The technology goes just so far.
I get that. I know. So you don't know how soon Trinidad will open up their borders to travel.
Well, we had been told that by phase 6, which we're about, I think we're at phase 5 now. So at the end of June, we were anticipating news. So hopefully mid-July. I understand that there is actually a JetBlue flight due to come in mid-July. So hopefully I will be able to be on the outbound flight.
Hopefully you're already on the reservation list.
Well, I just recently heard of it. Literally this morning, I heard about it. So, and it isn't allowing online booking. So I have to find out a little bit more about what's happening, whether, I only recently heard about it from one of my friends. The date is supposed to be July 16th, I think it was. July 16th or so.
So you sound, Gillian, like your life was very well established in Trinidad professionally. What challenges, if any, did you face reestablishing yourself when you moved to the US?
I would say that's an ongoing. It's been an interesting challenge. I would say my transition from TNT to the US is a combination of the frustrations within TNT. It's a very challenging climate. The ease of doing business challenges your mental sanity, or stability. So that continues to be a challenge within TNT. And I guess just change, just responding to change. I'm a person that typically responds very well to change. I am pretty self-sufficient, and I can pick myself back up and reestablish. One of the most challenging periods has been the pandemic. I guess it's still in building stages, and it has changed a lot of plans. We had quite a few events in the US, in New Jersey and Manhattan, and those got canceled. I was in the middle of conducting a series of recruitment fairs. So I'm just keen to get all of that going again. I have always considered myself a global citizen. I actually follow, and I'm a member of the Global Citizen Organization as well. So I've just considered myself a global citizen. So I believe it's, as long as I'm part of the two global organizations that I represent, our products and services can be offered across the globe. So that bit hasn't been so much in terms of a challenge. It's just, picking up and going again. The pandemic is one of the biggest challenges, but it's also presented a lot of opportunities.
No, nobody was, none of us saw it coming. It came out of nowhere.
I think the biggest challenge, though, is paradigm change. People, it's always been, and even more so, I think that's a lot of companies and a lot of individuals are grieving, and I guess it's allowing people to go through that process. That's what's creating a lot of the challenges. It's not that there are not opportunities, but I think everyone still wants to continue doing things the way they've always done them, and it's that resistance to change that's making it harder.
And I think some people think at the end of this pandemic, they're just going to revert back to old behaviors and habits. And I think they're in for a big surprise.
I think that would be very sad as well. When we look at the trajectory that we were on, why would we want to go back? I think the pandemic has presented an opportunity for us to lead with greater levels of compassion, greater levels of collaboration. It's allowing companies to significantly reduce their costs. Employees have been long calling for flexible work hours and remote work. And when we really think about that, when we really think about what that has presented, it is an opportunity for us to focus more on people and adding value and doing things differently. And I'm really hoping that it does lead to greater levels of collaboration, because we've seen some unprecedented levels of collaboration across the globe. And I'm praying that that continues. I would not want us to go back to doing business as usual. I mean, I'm looking forward to a world with far more compassion and greater appreciation for people, innovation, creativity, and a willingness to try something new. Within adversity, we find our strength, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that a lot of people who've never experienced this level of adversity find within them a level of resilience that they didn't know they had.
I agree with you. Just yesterday, someone sent me a text message and said, Jenny, why don't you do a show on the positive parts of COVID? And I thought about it, and I thought, positive parts, but really, in every single adverse situation, if you look, there is some good in alignment with it.
Yes.
And I feel one of the good things about this virus, it has forced a lot of us who are just willing to settle with mediocre to push ourselves and come up with new normals or new ways of doing things that really benefit us in the end. And so what have you found in your immediate environment and the people around you that people didn't think was possible, and it's working great for everyone right now. Have you seen any of those?
I think it's the convenience of doing a lot more from home. I think that we've overcomplicated business, and because people have had to get a little bit more creative. I think what a lot of companies have discovered is just how unnecessary a great deal of their costs was, and that the excess costs we passed on to consumers. And what we've done is we've overcomplicated the world, and we've made the cost of living far higher than it needed to be, and therefore increased the divide between the haves and have-nots. I think what we've got to be mindful for during this period is the impact on the middle class. The middle class is seriously at risk right now, because when you look at a lot of the essential workers are pretty much the working class, great with the doctors and all of that, but when you look at a lot of those who have remained employed, they're frontline workers that people would not have valued as much as we do now. So it's a reminder of the importance of the basics and how much we've complicated life. So I think that's one of the things that people didn't imagine. I think a lot of professionals were not prepared to have their livelihoods affected to the impact that it had, the convenience of a lot of the things that they've gotten used to, going to restaurants, going about. I think one of the benefits has been, I mean, there are ups and downs to it. For some, there's been the benefit in the family life, time with your loved ones, that where previous working hours and schedules and travel didn't allow you to spend as much time with your loved ones. Then there is someone like me who is during this period separated from both my husband and daughter. So we've spent a lot of time utilizing the technology, but we've not been in each other's physical presence. So I think one of the things, balance. I think the pandemic has really encouraged a lot of people to revisit what really are the priorities, what really matters. And I would say for me, it is a reminder that it really is the simple things, the simple things that bring us so much joy. And that's one of the things I hope we never forget. I hope we go forward reminding ourselves to go back to basics, and that life is a lot easier when we just see people first and serve from that perspective.
COVID-19, the pandemic, has barely scratched the surface in Trinidad. And you look at an almost neighboring country, Brazil, and so many other countries who've been so hit so hard. What do you credit? I don't want to say success, but what do you credit what do you give the credit for? The Trinidad has been barely affected. What do you credit that to?
Well, I think we've definitely seen the leadership of TNT did an extremely good job in making the tough decisions very early. Closure of our borders, implementation of the lockdown, restricting movement, contact tracing. We've done a really good job at saving the lives of people within TNT. Throughout the pandemic, while the US has seen over I think it's 125,000 deaths almost to date. We've owned and continuing to climb. We've had we've had 126 cases at present, and we've had 8 deaths, a total of 8 deaths throughout this entire period. So we definitely have to commend our leadership. They did an exceptional job in closure of our borders and implementing the contact tracing. So our medical system was not overwhelmed like many of the other nations, which also creates a great deal more panic and anxiety and further floods the healthcare system. So I think that's what we've done really good. The challenge is the mix of lives and livelihoods. Our challenge going forward is how do we allow our economy to rebound? We were already experiencing challenges as an oil and gas nation with falling oil prices. The vast majority of our country's income comes from gas. And we've continued to see significant reductions in gas production. So that, of course, has impacted, the economy. The need for diversification is key. So how we continue to take care of people's livelihoods going forward, in them being able to sustain themselves, I think that's still to come. Let's see how we do. And I think that's where the importance of collaboration is key, and our business leaders' ability to take some risk. TNT's banking sector and the business community have traditionally been risk averse. And of course, with me transitioning, I'm still doing work in the Caribbean and building in the US. I'm keen to see what happens in the US. You know, I'm excited to get back on the path of building in the US, and I think it'll be even more challenging now as the environment becomes even more fiercely competitive. But I'm also looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that push and that challenge, because it really does allow us to bring out the best of ourselves, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And I don't think the TNT, the Caribbean, at present is going to have a lot of the opportunities that will still be more readily available to the US. We have a lot of change in how we do business. You know, we still have a lot of changes. We still have a lot of evolving to do.
Well, there's so many people, Gillian, that are looking at this virus like it has a termination date. Like the vaccine will come out and then everything will go back to normal. I don't think some people understand that the vaccine is not going to necessarily put an end to the spread of this or a cure. I personally believe that viruses mutate constantly. And when we do have a vaccine, it may control spread and it may help, but it's not going to put an end to the pandemic. Is your government instilling this and are people expecting that when a vaccine comes out, everything is going to go back to normal? I've spoken to a few people who think that once the vaccine has been tried and tested, then life goes back to what it was. And then we will build.
I think there's more people hoping for that. I think people, because as I mentioned earlier, there's this grief for what people believe they've lost and a desire to go back to business as usual, it's what they know. I think that's the excitement. I think people have been, what I've seen across the globe, especially within the business community, people seem to be more afraid of the economic impacts as opposed to the health impact. And that is pretty amazing, because the virus will, as you said, it's not going to disappear. It's going to continue. People's concerns are everyday life. So what I do think that the government of TNT have continued to do a pretty good job in reminding people that we are still in the midst of a pandemic, urging them to continue to operate. But it is up to the people, because regardless of how great government policy may be in any nation, you require people to act accordingly. And the biggest challenge is behavioral change. And that resistance to change is what I think will continue to cost lives. It's what's cost lives across the globe. People continuing to not be mindful of their movements, not, engage in the required hygienic routine in terms of washing your hands frequently, sanitizing, social distancing. That's pretty hard. And typically with all adversity, what do you want? You want comfort, you want friends, you want community, you want contact. And here we're faced with a pandemic that is restricting all of that. So I do think across the globe, we have to spend more time reviewing, assessing, and helping the mental impact, the trauma of COVID-19. People are traumatized, people are confused, people are grieving, and the instinctive responses to that go against what COVID-19 are asking you to do. They want to escape, they want to go out, they want to have a good time, and I think we're seeing that all across the globe. The discipline, on the plus side, the emphasis in helping us survive COVID-19 is behavior change, adherence to policy changes, collaboration, cooperation, to help to serve a greater good beyond yourself. And so I think that is one of the advantages that we've got to run with. Here we have the entire world focusing people on serving a good greater than themselves, because when you take the risk, it's not only your life you're putting at risk, you're putting other people's lives at risk. And I think we really do need to capitalize on the opportunity that COVID-19 has presented for us to have that conversation that we're not in this world alone. We need to take care of our brothers and our sisters and look after one another. And I think we need to really run with that and continue to build on that and develop a level of civic responsibility, a responsibility for the community, the environment, beyond ourselves, and therefore, I guess, more collaboration in that regard. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that nations across the globe. I would love to see greater emphasis, for example, on the global agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals, that we don't lose sight on that. So much of it goes right back to taking care of people and the basics.
Well, you guys had a problem with crime in Trinidad. Do you feel that this COVID has played a part in calming that down?
Well, no, with economic hardships, what come, are spikes in crime.
Right.
So we are seeing that. We are seeing some gang wars. You're still seeing some, the police referring to gang-related murders, I guess turf wars as they refer to them, because what the gangs benefit from marking their territories and extorting funds from members of the business community within those territories, or government workers and contracts operating within those areas. So what we're seeing based on reports are some of the recent murders have been the result of those turf wars. And what we're also seeing is a rise in petty theft. Now, I grew up with my father saying, as a former policeman, he used to say a thief is a liar is a thief, and a thief is a murderer. And I think that's one of the things that we need to be mindful of in terms of the crime. With economic hardships, people tend to go down a path that's not one that contributes to national safety and security, as people begin to thief, right, and lie and cheat and steal. So I think the impact on society is something that we've got to really look at. It's when people there's a mix of people stealing to just basically feed themselves, and then they have those who are exploiting, taking advantage of loopholes and opportunities to enrich themselves. And what typically happens during a recession, hardships, is people begin to cheat on their taxes as well. So one of the things that we've got to look at is the integrity within a society during this period. There's a lot of focus on people, and those are the conversations that I don't think we have enough. If we are to fix this world, we really do need to focus on understanding human behavior and to what people do to survive, right? And the whole concept of survival of the fittest. People, it's survival people are fighting for, and I think the compassionate policies are what are really going to help.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, because I was wondering about that. I was hoping that they were so afraid of getting COVID that they'd stay at home, and it would actually calm the crime down a bit.
I think that's pretty sad. I mean, I don't have the count, but I think as at May, we had already been on par with the murder rate last year, and that's pretty scary.
Even with people locked up at home.
Even with people locked up. However, we were on a path to exceed that. So we've maintained that, not exceeded that, which is still scary. I mean, that you still have the level of murders and some very unfortunate. You're talking about teens and courting the violence last week was a 2-year-old that was assassinated along with her father. So that's pretty scary.
It's sad. And to think that you still have 6 months to this year.
Yes.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear that. What have you learned about Gillian during this pandemic?
Oh, what have I learned about Gillian? Well, some of the things I've learned that I'm not as disciplined as I used to be. I've learned that, you look shocked when I say that, because everybody thinks of me, they think of me rigid, disciplined.
Yes, exactly.
And it really is a simple thing, and it's one of the things that I am very mindful of with people going forward. The truth of it is everyone really just wants to do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it, however they can do it, and be happy. And I think in that, my desire to switch off, and I think my yearning for the trails, there are many times through this pandemic where I just wanted to switch off, because you're spending so much more time online now, it's not me running around, going to meetings, adventuring. There was a period where we couldn't, of course, go into the trails. And in New Jersey, I spent a lot of time alongside the lake, walking in the trails, working out with my husband. So I put on a few more pounds, unfortunately. So during the period, that's what I've learned is that my importance going forward to really be very mindful of my balance. I want to enjoy more time doing nothing, and I think that's become very clear. It may be a surprise to you, but there is a hunger to enjoy doing nothing without the guilt, and I would say that's me going forward. My daughter it's grown and going into her final year in her first degree in September. And she's, of course, continuing her life on her own. It's important for me going forward to do what genuinely fulfills me and enjoy my life. And I'm looking forward to doing more and more of that.
Good. And you should. What is it about us driven women that when we take a break, we feel guilty? I have the same issue. If
Yes.
One day I wake up feeling a little bit tired, my energy level is not what it used to be for whatever reason, I cannot relax. Even though my body is saying relax, when I try to do it, I'm overwhelmed with guilt. And
Yes.
my brain is saying, you can be doing this, you can be doing that, and next thing I'm up and running. What do you think causes that? Why do we have this complex?
Well, if we want to look at it historically, men typically went off, the hunter-gatherers, and they would focus on a single task, gathering food for the family and coming home. What did the women go at home? The women took care of the home. We had to multitask. So we were looking after the children, we were tending to the home. In the midst of everything that we're doing, we had to monitor temperatures. A guy probably wouldn't even notice it until the child turns blue. Look, we will do a million things and we will see a little droplet, we will notice a hinge. So I think it's historically, women have had a tendency of always having to multitask and get a lot done. And there is an innate feeling, especially for the driven professional, that when you are not doing something, that you're not being productive, that you're not adding value. So we get that sense of guilt. And then when we're not doing as much as we would like, it's on top of the guilt is a feeling that we're not succeeding. So we equate success with doing, as opposed to being. And I think it requires a lot more discipline to be mindful on who we're being, our essence. And with that comes the importance of taking care of health and self and relaxing and enjoying. And that's where I say, in terms of me really looking at how much I've not been as disciplined as I used to, for example, with my exercise routine. That's what I've discovered within this period, the importance of our routine. So it's taken me, of course, right back to a lot of the principles that we take our clients through, the Leadership Management International principles of mindful of the whole person, the total person, all areas of life. And I think that's what helps a woman. We really do need to be mindful of all of us. And sometimes doing nothing is what we need to do.
True. Well, we have our habits, and habits die hard, even when they're bad habits. And so I think for a lot of people, they complain that they're gaining weight because we're asked to stay indoors, and a lot of where people get exercise is outdoor. Not
Yes.
everyone has the capabilities and the ability to exercise within their homes. And
It's
I
just
think,
not as exciting,
Right.
I'm one of those, over my life, there have been times where I've gone to the gym, but I've always preferred outdoors. I love being around the greenery. I love being outdoors and not just walking around a neighborhood or something like that. I love trails. I love walking around alongside lakes. I love hiking, and I crave that. And I think that desire to be around the greenery, I would go out and I could spend an entire day walking. I could run for hours, but indoors, the discipline to get up and exercise, it's just not there. And I think a lot of people experience that. It's just not as fun. However, my friend did get me to do a dance date with her online, and we had a lot of fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad you were able to do that. So we are down to 5 minutes. And I wanted to ask you, what are you going to do different? Because you've lived in the United States for a while, and now you're sort of stuck in Trinidad because of COVID. What are you observing from being in Trinidad while you're on the outside of the professional lifestyle in the US that you can see a way to change when you come back for the better, if anything?
I think the word that comes to mind immediately is simplicity. I'm more comfort with simplicity. I think when I go back, I will definitely spend a lot more time with my husband. I'm really looking forward to spending a lot more time with my husband. A routine that allows me to spend more of my day taking care of me. I think those are some of the things. And if we look at the basics, if we had actually nurtured a world, and if understanding Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where more people were comfortable with just taking care of the basics, we'd have a lot less trauma in the world right now. All right, it's that self-esteem and I know all the status and all of the other pursuits that allowed us to amass so many more things that in this period just feel like weight. All the additional expenses that bring with it weight. And if we really just go right back to what do we really need in life to just enjoy life at this point in time, and it's simplicity. So I think that's definitely what will be with me going forward, keeping it simple and not overburdening myself, and managing my schedule that allows me to really enjoy my time with my husband. And I'm looking forward to my first holiday with my daughter again, because we were supposed to have a holiday all together in August, and it's not going to happen. So I'm looking forward to that. What I would do differently is manage my day around the simple things to ensure that I'm enjoying me, my husband, and my family above all things.
Great. Now, Gillian, you may not have had this experience, but as a woman who is big on promoting other women, what challenges have you faced? Because there are a lot of women who are not into promoting other women. In fact, they like tearing them down. I seem to find those. I attract them by the handful.
Find them.
They find me, rather, correction. How do you handle those types of women? I don't understand it. But I know that when you're dealing with all types of people, you must have encountered some of these women. When you do, how do you handle them?
Love, and you know me, Jenny, what I would say, just love first. I truly believe that who many beings present to the world on a daily basis is not who they are innately. It's who their circumstances, what they've been through, experiences have confused them to believing that they are and that they need to do, or how, hurt people hurt other people. Absolutely. So what I remind myself is that when we see a lot of the anger, the frustration, and the tearing down of others, and we're seeing a lot more of it right now across the world. We're seeing it in politics, we're not just amongst women, we're seeing it across social media. What I see is a lot of hurt, angry, and frustrated people. And I don't need to receive their hurt, anger, and frustration, nor add to it. So what I focus on is who I believe that person is innately. And if I think they have the capacity to go beyond it, I will do my part to help them do that. But if I think that where they're at, it will continue to allow them to harm themselves and others, and they need help beyond me, I will say goodbye. There's so much that we can do, and sometimes people need a little bit more help than we can provide. But I think once we come from a loving place, it is a lot easier. We've all been, I've been, having founded and headed a female networking group. Unlike many women, I've really experienced the wrath, the envy, the worst of, of women, but I've also experienced the best. I've also seen some beautiful things. So that balance reminds me that women are faced with a lot of challenges, and whether it's historically our view of competing for our space in the world, whatever it is, I think the answer is to just come from love. And when we understand ourselves, we can act from that space.
So we're out of time. But before I go, I always ask my guests, what haven't I asked them that they would like to leave with the viewers? This is your time. If I haven't asked you something you want to make sure you leave in this interview, please do so now.
I guess it would be a message to the viewers that, it's not as bad as it seems. We really do have all that we need in this world when we focus on the simple things in life. So I would say what you probably haven't asked me is what my closing words and parting words to your viewers: to continue to love yourself, be gentle with yourself, take care of yourself, and treat others as you would like to be treated, and just keep it simple. And I would probably ask you, is there anything that you would like of me as you continue to do such great work? Thank you for having me. What would you like of the persons who you've interviewed? What would you like of us as you continue this series?
Exactly what you just said. Be the change you want to see in the world. And anytime you are going to do something to someone, think about how you would feel if someone did it to you. And I think if we all took a minute to think and act like that, we will live in a happier, more harmonious world. And I don't think it's that hard. It's so much easier to love than to hate and do hateful things. But some people who are wired dark, it's very difficult to get them to grasp that single concept. But all I can do is what I can do, and I continue to do that and hope that it will somehow trickle down. And when I have friends like you and people like you giving, passing the same message, hopefully, if 2 or 3 people will start to live from that perspective, if they're not already doing it, I think it will create a change in the world.
I think
for the better. Gillian, you were as wonderful as I knew you would be.
Oh my.
I know you're extremely busy, and I'm very grateful that you were able to carve out this time to spend with me on Conversations with Jennylyn. And I'm looking forward to doing many more collaborative projects with you in the future.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much, Jennylyn, and keep up the great work.
Thank you, same to you. And thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. When a conversation is all you need to be inspired, like these beautiful, successful, inspirational people that I share with you. And I will see you next